What's up, guys? I want to get a quick shout out of the way before I get into the video proper. If you don't know about this channel already, I have mentioned them a couple times in live streams, but you should probably go check out Wayne is Boss over on, well, the link is going to be in the description. He is a YouTuber who's been at this for years now, and his production qualities are incredibly high. And for some reason, he's been stagnant at just around 2,000 for years now. And I can't for the life of me figure out why he hasn't exploded. So maybe if you guys have the ability to, help him potentially realize the same dream that I have right now, which is to be able to do this full time. I'm barely able to do it at 30,000, so I know it's definitely impossible to do it at 2. So if you guys can help boost him up, shout him out, and do whatever you can, he makes very, very good content. And, oh, his commissions are also open. He recently did this piece for me that I've been using for my avatar over on Twitter. So if you want to get some avatars or any still images like that made, then he does that as well. But first and foremost, please check out his channel. He just recently put out a new video for Metroid Month, and it is a review of the original NES Metroid. So if retro stuff is your thing, then why not go ahead and check him out? That said, let's go ahead and roll the intro and get into my video proper. But if you do check out Wayne is Boss, thank you for doing so. He makes awesome content. Sorry, I was trying to find something strong enough to wash away the pain of having to deal with Classically Abby again. I don't understand why this channel keeps on getting views, and no, that's not me being jealous that my channel doesn't get that many. That is just a brute fact of reality. What I'm curious about is why people even pay this channel any heed. It seems to be mostly hate watchers, and given that there's hundreds of thousands of views, but the dislike ratio is almost always terrible on each video, I can only assume that these are people who are coming from the advertisements for her channel. So let's go ahead and take a look at her video and see why Classically Abby has gained so many hate simps.
Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be talking about why I decided to come out as a conservative influencer.
It's a very odd choice of words, using coming out. It's almost like you're trying to appeal to a certain person, a certain base of people, like teenage girls who might feel like, oh, I might have to come out to my parents one day, but then you say, I came out as conservative, when conservatism classically is the reason that people generally have to come out in the first place. People are usually in the closet because of either their religious beliefs, the fact that they might be gay, or something else like that. Usually something that puts them in some type of minority. Coming out as conservative, though, that just seems a bit disingenuous to everybody who's ever had to go through the trials and tribulations of coming out.
So in my last couple of videos, you'll have seen that I have come out as a conservative influencer. And I thought I would talk to you guys a little bit about why I decided to do that, because I know that there aren't a lot of influencers in this space who talk about their politics openly. They definitely live a certain lifestyle, but they don't just embrace and say what they actually believe and what their views really are. But it was really important to me that I actually come out and say straight out, I'm conservative. The reason I felt this was so important was because I have been afraid to say outright that I am a conservative for a lot of different reasons. The first is that I am an artist, I'm an opera singer, and in an artistic space, it's very difficult to express that you're conservative without A, being afraid that you'll lose jobs, or B, being afraid that you'll lose friends.
So first, on the point of jobs, I could understand if you feel like, oh, you might lose a job, but historically, people don't lose jobs for being conservative in almost any field. They lose jobs for being gay, they lose jobs for being a minority, they lose jobs because somebody's intolerant. Usually, you're not going to find that same type of intolerance in the liberal arts. Now, another thing to note is you mentioned you might lose friends if they found out you're conservative. But merely saying you're conservative is probably not going to lose you any friends, Abby. I don't believe for a minute that you were going to lose friends because you just happened to say, hey, I'm a conservative. Now, what might lose you friends is if one of your friends is gay and you say, I think your life is a sin. then you might lose friends, and at that point, rightfully so, because, well, they're just being themselves, and they can't control that. Even if they could, they're not hurting anyone. Now, considering that you have actually argued for stripping women of the rights to their own bodily autonomy, I can understand if maybe that would lose you some friends, but that doesn't come from just being a conservative. That comes from wanting to strip women of their rights. If you have friends that are women and you say, I want to strip you of your rights, you would lose friends. It's not because you're conservative. It's because of the things that come with it sometimes. Just like you can have a Christian friend, but that Christian friend doesn't have to tell you every day that he thinks you deserve to burn in hell because you had the audacity to be born. So, no, I don't believe you lost any friends for being a conservative or lost a job for being a conservative. It's the bigoted beliefs that can be entailed by those that would lose you friends or potentially could lose you jobs, like with the example of the Christian. You don't have to be a bigot to be a conservative.
A lot of the time in artistic spaces, I've found that people who are on the other side of the aisle feel totally comfortable sharing their liberal views, which, hey, if you want to share your views, that's totally fine, but no one on the other side of the aisle could respond.
So maybe it would help if you actually gave us an example of what kind of views, because there's a lot of things that are considered conservative views and a lot of things that are considered more left-leaning or liberal views. So maybe with an example, we can parse out what actually is going on and if there was actually a risk of you losing anyone in this scenario.
That, to me, is the real problem. I think that the best conversations and the most fruitful ones are the ones where people are able to say what they think without being afraid that they'll really upset someone.
Well, again, an example would help, but let me go ahead and give you a counterexample first. I don't think that somebody should be able to spout a racist opinion and just feel perfectly fine, not be worried that it's going to upset someone. If you want to spout something that is overtly racist, or say that, hey, you're going to be burning in hell, or something like that, you should rightfully feel like there's going to be some social repercussion for you saying something bigoted. That's just part of a normal social contract between human beings. If you want to go into a space where you can say that type of offensive stuff and get actual constructive feedback, then maybe consider an academic institution where you can do these things in a debate arena, instead of, no, I don't know, your random job as an opera singer. Fact of the matter is, nobody owes you the emotional spoons required to deal with you after you say something like, being gay is a sin.
Of course, that doesn't mean you can just be willy-nilly and say things that are insensitive or rude.
So that seems to tell me that you're more worried about the decorum of how you say something than the actual substance of what you're saying being the problem.
But really more to the point of, let's talk about our ideas, and if our ideas are different, that's okay. Maybe that's even a good thing. It was a really big lesson for me when I was at the Manhattan School of Music, because I was there for 3 years, and it wasn't until I came out and said that I was conservative that I found out that there were actually more of us than I thought. But we had all kept it secret because we were all afraid of expressing that we actually had a differing viewpoint.
Well, this is a wonderful story, but so far it lacks any substance. Abby, can you please tell us what actual viewpoints you expressed that other people were like, oh, I believe in that too? Can you give any of those examples? Because you're framing this as if everybody in your liberal arts class happened to believe the exact same monolithic thing, except for a handful of conservative rebels. But as somebody who is on the left, I can tell you that I don't believe the same thing as everybody else on the left, and nobody on the left believes the same thing as everyone else as well. It's not a monolith, and that's how you're kind of framing this, is that you've got a handful of critical and rebellious thinkers who just happen to be conservative, and everyone else is the same, and they all agree on the same things, and therefore you were afraid. But I don't believe that for a second. It's like when you're playing a game of Among Us and you ask everybody where they are and what they were doing and they just say tasks. Okay, cool. I have no way of knowing which one of you is the imposter now because all of you have said that you have tasks. Which one of you were on wires? Which one of you were doing a visual task? Which one of you were doing something concrete that I can handle down to figure out which one of you is actually sus? You're not giving me any of that information, so far I think you might actually be the imposter here.
I think it's really important for conservative women to have a space to be open and honest about what they believe. For so long, it's felt like conservative women have really had to keep all of their thoughts under wraps so that they don't get in trouble from their bosses, their friends, or their teachers.
You are doing exactly what I thought you were doing. You're trying to frame this in such a way that people actually feel legitimately victimized when they aren't. Conservatives are not some oppressed group in the United States. They, more often than not, end up being the oppressors here. Why are you trying to frame yourself like you're part of a minority group that is constantly oppressed? Now, I understand that you are actually part of an oppressed minority group. You are Jewish, and I know you have a history of being oppressed for being Jewish. It's mostly carryover from your brother's activism, so I can understand that you know what being oppressed looks and feels like. But you weren't being oppressed because you're conservative. That's not what's happening. So I'm very curious as to why you're framing it this way. I know you know what it looks like. I know you know what it feels like. And yet, the thing you're describing is not that.
And I think conservative women in some ways have it harder than conservative men. If you don't believe that women should have a choice when it comes to abortion, a lot of women will say that you're insensitive. Well, I would say that we're not insensitive. We care about the child, the baby.
Except you don't, because not a single conservative woman who I have talked to on this subject, or I have reviewed on this channel, would be willing to be a surrogate mother for every single person who does not wish to carry a baby to term. You merely want them to be controlled, the woman to be controlled, for her not to have any say in what goes on with her body. Because otherwise, you would be willing to take that burden up yourself, but you're not. Almost as if your own autonomy matters more than the potential life of the child. Which is hypocritical, considering that you do not hold that same exact standard when it comes to whoever you're arguing against on the abortion topic. Now, if I'm wrong, then by all means, I wholly celebrate it. Go ahead, be the surrogate mother. Allow every single woman who comes across your path to give you her fertilized zygote so that you can carry it to term, so that you can A, allow them to have full autonomy over their bodies, because that's not the problem you're having, right? That's your position. And then you will also take care of the child, because you are pro-life and you want the child to come to term. Now, this says nothing at all about whether or not you actually care about the quality of life of the child or the quality of life of the mother whenever the child is born, whether they're born into abject poverty or whether they're going to starve to death or anything like that. None of that factors into this conversation. I'm just talking about whether or not you would be willing to give up your own autonomy in the same way that you want other women to give up their autonomy. If I'm wrong, at me. Go ahead. And everybody who's watching in the comment section, if you see somebody making an argument like this who would not be willing to do the exact same thing that I just mentioned, go ahead and give them the L. Spam them with the L. This is how you earn your L for this video. But if you see some good shit in there, go ahead and give them an H. H is for victory.
And conservative women are very often not taken seriously.
Usually that's because conservative spaces happen to be very misogynistic, and as a result, conservative women in conservative spaces don't have as much of a say.
One of the things I found fascinating is that conservative women can't even find a community when they want to because no one feels comfortable voicing their views. So that's why I decided to come out and say I was conservative. I don't like living in fear. I don't like making choices based on being afraid. So instead, I wanted to come out and say, yes, I am a conservative. Why does it matter that I'm conservative if I'm an influencer? Well, my conservative views come prior to everything else.
This clip right here is going to be the thing that I use anytime you say something so objectively stupid, and I just can't I can't comprehend why you have said it, why you would say such a dumb thing. Anytime I hit that point, I'm going to remember this clip. Your conservative and your conservative views come first before anything. As opposed to using logic or rationale to come to a conclusion, you have to start from the a priori that conservatism is true and good, and then you go forward with that. That's gonna be a problem going forward in your channel, I'm pretty certain. This would be like if I said I'm a leftist before anything. When you put an ideology above any type of facts and logic, as opposed to coming to an ideology through deductive reasoning, then unfortunately you're gonna land in the position that Abby's in, where so many of the things that come out of her mouth are objectively wrong.
Everything that I talk about, everything that I believe in, everything that I choose to wear, or even the makeup that I put on, it comes from a conservative and classic perspective. When I say let's be classic, To me, that's a lifestyle. And for me, that classic lifestyle is built on my conservative lifestyle. My goal for Classically Abby isn't for it to be an only conservative woman space, but a place where conservative women feel comfortable voicing their views.
I at least respect the opinion where you're not wanting to create an echo chamber for conservatives. That's a thing that a lot of people do, and I'm glad that you haven't done that. But based on the like to dislike ratio of your videos, I can only assume that you've attracted more liberal-minded people than conservative, which may be a little counterintuitive to what you were trying to do. Not certain.
So if you find that you're on the opposite side of the aisle, or even just a moderate, I would love to have you here if you are open to the idea of having conversations and discussions with people on the other side. That to me is an exciting opportunity that we have here, a place where women from all different sides and all different viewpoints really have a space to converse without being afraid that you're going to lose a friendship. With all of that in mind, I did create a locals community so that we could have that space built in.
So if you're doing this on the internet, it might be better to create something like a Discord community or even have a Chan board or something up, because doing it strictly over the internet necessitates that there's going to be people who might want to join your local community but are not local to you. And I really don't want to find out in 3 years that there's the Abby Shapiro compound and it looks eerily familiar to the Kent Hovind compound, because people really wanted to be part of your local community, like really, really wanted to.
I want to have some sort of filter so that people who don't share these views of openness and open conversation can't just come in and flood the comments.
So let me get this straight. You want a free speech absolutist zone, basically. A zone where people can say their minds and not feel like they're going to lose friends, family, etc., jobs. But you're going to have a filter, so it's not a free speech zone, so that only people who share your viewpoint will be able to speak in the zone, because you don't want people who don't share the viewpoints you do to be able to flood the comment section. This just sounds like a conservative space. Like, on the one hand, I can understand having a filter, you know, to stop people from being overtly racist, sexist, etc. But creating a space with the overt intention of letting people voice their views that they might otherwise be afraid of, but then having a category of views that they are not allowed to voice because those are the bad ones and you want to kick them out. And the views being as benign as maybe not necessarily wanting people to say racist, misogynistic things. It feels like you're constructing, or at least attempting to construct, that echo chamber that you said you didn't want to make. And that's just kind of weird to me.
I want this to be a space that really is safe.
Well, you heard it first here. Conservatives needing safe spaces.
What I'm hoping to do is that for those who have a paid subscription, we'll have private live streams that will encourage us to have a conversation where I'll be there and you can comment in and I'll respond to questions and comments, and you guys can talk to each other there as well. And that's what it's about. It's about money. It's about making money. Oh, I get it now. And another thing I'm really interested in looking into is doing video chat calls with my premium subscribers, where we can have a group chat, 25 people, 50 people, however many people, where we're really talking about these ideas and we can actually talk to each other face to face. This whole thing makes me so excited, and it's been a goal of mine that's been in the works for a long time. I really love the idea that conservative women and women across the aisle would all feel comfortable sharing their views and talking about these ideas without fear. And that is why I decided to come out as a conservative influencer.
You know that none of that is contingent on you being a conservative influencer, right? Like, you basically just explained patron hangouts over Zoom. That has nothing to do with being a conservative influencer. That just has to do with wanting to be a YouTuber. Framing everything through this conservative lens is really strange to me. And I understand why you're doing it. You said it yourself. Your conservatism comes first before anything. As weird as that is, it'd be like me saying my leftism comes before anything, as opposed to me arriving to that as a conclusion to actual introspective thought. This a priori thing is weird. But anyway, the point is, it's weird to me that you have to frame this as you wanted to be a conservative influencer to do all these things, when this is just part of being a YouTuber. It just literally is just part of being a YouTuber. And you can say, oh, it's been a goal of mine to set this up and build this. And you do know that you don't have to set anything up and build anything for that, right? Like Discord and Zoom already exist. Those platforms already exist. Those methods to do the things you're wanting to do, they all already exist. You're building nothing. If anything, all you're trying to do is build a community, which is commendable. Building a community is great. But the things that you're saying and the actual things you're doing don't seem entirely congruent with one another, like with the previous point about the free speech area with a filter. But now we know the filter is just money, just paying you money.
Please let me know in the comments below what you think about all this. If you are a conservative woman that has been silenced and hasn't talked about your views, I would love to hear how you feel about this, and I'd love to know how you'd like to be a part of this community, what other stuff you think a premium subscriber should have. I would love to know. And if you are on the other side of the aisle, please continue to comment. I love to hear your guys' points of view, especially if it's respectful.
Or alternatively, you can be a disrespectful asshole like me and just make a response video. With all that said, though, I honestly think the conclusion here is that this was just a video about you coming out as somebody who wants money from your fans. Which, don't get me wrong, I want money from my fans too. I have a Patreon. I just recently opened up YouTube channel memberships. I understand. But veiling it behind this activism thing, saying that, oh, well, I wanted to be a conservative influencer, and if you want to talk to me, then pay me money so that you can do that. As opposed to, hey, I want to be a conservative influencer and activist. If you agree with my cause, then please consider supporting me, to support the work that I do. It's more like you're wanting to construct this community, but the community is behind a paywall. And that feels kind of strange. I understand that there's things like patron-only areas in Discords and stuff. That's a thing that I do. But constructing just a community of people who have to pay to be part of that community, that just feels strange. That I don't want to say cultish, but it does feel kind of weird that essentially is the goal of the video. The goal, it was an advertisement. At the end of the day, it was an advertisement. And I don't know where I sit where that's concerned, especially as somebody who disagrees vehemently with a lot of the things that Abby believes in. I'm not 100% certain how comfortable I feel with what the end result of this little community project is going to be. One last thing, when you are creating a community of people who you are going to be able to listen to and talk to, and these are the people whose ideas you're going to be taking, when you're dealing with something like politics, not necessarily something as benign as, say, gaming, when the people who are in this community are only the people who are willing to pay you money, you naturally are going to get people who already are kind of inclined to agree with you, thus kind of constructing that echo chamber. Because usually when it comes to monetary gains, monetary support, you generally support people who you agree with on some level already. And if you're sending that financial support and doing that to be part of Abby Shapiro's little community, you, like I said, you're going to be naturally inclined to already be kind of agreeing with her, because that's where you have to be to want to give them money in the first place. That's why I said this doesn't matter as much for like gaming communities, because a lot of the opinions there are going to be benign. But for a political community where the opinions have long, large, and far-reaching effects when it comes to other people's lives, only allowing essentially people who are willing to give you money to be part of your community and in-group to talk with you, that feels like you're going to artificially construct an echo chamber, even if that wasn't your goal to begin with. But with all that said, what do you guys think? We are at the end of the video, and I do want to know what your guys' thoughts are on Abby coming out as conservative, which, again, just feels really disingenuous for all the reasons that I already listed here. But I want to know what you think. I want to know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comment section below or in the video discussion section on my Discord. Both areas are there for you to comment on whatever recent video has been released. Also, if you would like to support my channel and what I do, there's going to be the Patreon slides that come up, but also I recently started having channel memberships. memberships. So if you want to be a part of that, then go ahead and look in the description down below, and you should see a membership button of some sort. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. The one thing I can say is, unlike Abby, if you want to chat with me, my Discord is open to everybody, and you have the ability to chat with me there. I'm not going to put accessing conversations with me behind a paywall. That feels kind of silly, especially in political and religious discussions. So, hopefully, that is a thing that you guys will want to do at some point. But with all that said, we are now at the patron slides. These are the people that allow my channel to keep on going in the way that it does. So thank you all very much for helping out with the channel. If you see somebody on this list who comments in the description below, please, or not in the description, in the comment section below, please go ahead and give them a thank you, because they are the reason that I'm able to continue doing what I do. So thank you very much. Holiday season's coming up, and I am hoping everybody is going to have a wonderful, spooky time this October. I know when I say holiday season, everybody thinks I immediately mean Christmas. No, I'm talking about October right now. Christmas is going to come up. That's going to be a fun time too. But right now, the spooks are involved. We're going to get some spooky, scary skeletons in here. All right, that all said, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed. As always, everyone, insert into video tagline here, and I will see you all on Wednesday.